Hey y'all. So I did not edit a video this week, and so I figured I'd just go ahead and go live. And this is basically a live YouTube video. And I gave basically no heads up. So I'm not expecting anyone to join if someone pops in with a treat, but it is a Tuesday morning Eastern time. So presumably folks are at work. But I think the folks who follow me, they have free time. That's what I've noticed. But yeah, I want to talk about something that I shared in a Instagram reel on my coaching IG, which is Coaching by Chimdi. And I reflected on, I had a coaching call with my business coach, and I was reflecting on how people are waiting on you to do your healing work so that you can help them. And I've had people leave comments on my coaching IG just like, "Hey girl, can you get a license so that you can take insurance so that I can like receive your services, because right now it's all private, right? So unless you have $4,000, though I am thinking about doing like a beta program that's in the style of the workshop I just did. I did a workshop on Saturday on creative freedom and procrastination. It was super duper powerful. Like it was supposed to only be an hour. It went over by an entire 90 minutes because I answered every single question that people were asking. And I essentially did it in like the process style, which is a big thing in the timeless wisdom training, which is the trauma healing program I'm in. So I became the timeless people for the people who attended my program, which I must say, because we love timeless people, but I've also had some notes where I've been like, bro, like maybe we could do a couple things better, just saying. And the further I get on my healing journey, the more I'm like, oh, I am so impressed. I'm even more impressed by you than I was 2 years ago or whatever. And because what he does is it's a much, much larger scale. So I'm just like, the fact that you're doing what you're doing, only it's not like 30 people on a workshop, it's like 200 people for a week in person. Wild, 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 wild. I see someone has joined. Feel free to say hi in the chat. So yeah, so I was just thinking about how, and what I really noticed during the workshop is that people were asking questions and the answers were coming from processes. Oh, it's hey! I was thinking because we were supposed to do a little, Patreon thing. And I find it hard to believe that you don't have a preference for Asa in terms of your pronunciation, but I hope you are well. But I was sharing how a lot of the stuff that people were asking about was stuff that I had just dealt with. Like, not even like, some of it was a while ago, but some of it was like just last week, I was weeping and crying about something. And then someone on the call would ask a question and I'd be able to speak from my own experience about the thing that I had just processed. And it was incredible to realize like just the extent to which we are set up by every experience in our life for the next stage of our experience. And there were so many elements of the workshop that were informed by my 8-year career, in the nonprofit world and like running fellowships and like doing these workshops and doing coaching calls and doing group coaching. Like all of that it has continued to inform me. And that's why I'm able to show up for my creative coaching clients and for the folks who joined the workshop. So it was really, really humbling. Okay, you have no preference for your pronunciation or pronouns because I find it extremely insightful to see how others choose to view or respond to me when given more freedom. I love it. I was actually talking to one of my coaching clients about this because what they do involves like low stakes negotiation. So it's about like consent, but it's not about, anything like physical intimacy. It's just about like, exchanging your art for money and what happens when people are given the chance to negotiate that, which they often don't get to do in their life. And part of the interest in it is, how often do we get to sit with our own values and sit with how we feel and then be in relation with others as we are in that value system. So it's interesting that like just the pronunciation of your name and the pronouns you choose are your sort of invitation to other people to do exactly that as well. But yeah, I wanted to share because this is one of my favorite. This moment came after after the in-person retreat last year in October, where I was doing some healing work with one of the like assistants on the team, and it was a lot of inner child work. And so I saw this like young inner version of me who was like very hopeful. That's the thing about trauma healing and healing in general. And I think anything that you like commit to is that there will be ups and downs, but there's a part of you that sees the light and sees it as possible and is like, we're gonna do this. And it's just like, we're gonna do it. And the rest of you might be just like, I don't wanna. But there's one part is like, no, we're gonna do this. And I remember connecting to this young part of me who was so adorable, by the way. And like, here I am kind of sitting all sullen, like, and then this adorable baby version of me just like comes walking up and she's like holding Thomas's hand. And Thomas is a very tall man. So just imagining her holding the hand of like a 7-foot tall man. And it's just like, Chimdi, I brought Thomas Hubel to you so you can do your healing. And I'm just like, ugh. And I feel like that's exactly what has happened, where like the part of me that was like, this is too much, I need to do some healing. And life is getting harder and harder until I get this healing support. That part of me went out into the ether, went out into the spirit world and was like, okay, who can help Chimdi out? Who out here can help her ass out? Okay, Thomas People, perfect. And she grabbed him and pulled him into my life. And now I'm in this intense 2-year program. And then I realized like, oh, like there's a particular set of circumstances that make it such that he is the person and the program I'm in is the right program for me. And part of me has been thinking like, oh, let me just tell enough people about it so they know, and then they can go directly to him and get that support. And I realized like, there are just some people who just aren't going to resonate with that style of teaching, with that style of being. But they'll resonate with how I teach and with my way of being and my way of showing up in my energy. And so actually, like, I am that for other people. And I could feel that God is like, yeah, girl, like you need to have the capacity in you so that you can host a workshop with 30 people. You can do an email campaign and you can do a social media campaign. You can actually promote it. You can actually connect to people. And then once you're actually in the workshop itself, you can create the deck and be able to present it confidently. And then you can hold space for people no matter their creative challenge and support them in a way that's compassionate and beautiful and has them weeping and crying, like that's what I'm preparing you to do. So go ahead and do X, Y, Z so that you can be ready for that. And it's really humbling. It's really, 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 really humbling. Hi, Sly. How are you? Yeah, it's just really humbling. And I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for the healing. And it's cool because I remember when I first joined the healing program I'm in, when people would ask questions, that's how I know when I'm impressed with somebody, is that when people ask the person questions, I always think how I would answer that question. I do it all the time. And I'm in a couple of different coaching containers. And I always think about how would I answer that question? And usually I feel like I have a pretty good answer. But one thing I noticed with Thomas Hubel's program, people would ask him wild questions and I would just sit there like, I have no idea how I would answer that question. I have no clue what I would say. And then he would sit there and answer that question. I'd be like, wow. And then other times he would have endless patience. Endless patience. And I remember sitting there and there would be, when I first started that program, people would ask questions and have concerns. And I literally would be checking out. I'd be like, this does not interest me. I'm going to just zone out until this is done. But he was fully present for every single person. And something he once said, which has really stayed with me, is if you think salvation is over there somewhere, like a lot of people do spiritual work because they want to reach enlightenment. They want to like achieve some kind of goal. And that goal isn't here in the moment. It's like over there somewhere. And he was saying like, if you think, happiness and success and healing and all these things, if it lies over there instead of being here in this moment, eventually you're going to be talking to somebody and that person's going to be in your way. And you're not going to have time for that because you're like, listen, I gotta get over there. All right. But once you realize that you're walking forever, then you have time for now. And I remember being like, wow. And it's really interesting because he embodies that all of the time. All of the time, which can be really tough if you're someone like me who generally enjoys structure. So it's like, this is supposed to start at 11 a.m. and it's supposed to finish at noon. So why the fuck Are you still talking to that person over there when you said, it's that kind of energy? And it's so different because yeah, my workshop was supposed to be an hour and it was a full 2.5 hours. And it's very much like, yeah, I got time. I'm walking forever, baby. I got time. How are y'all doing this Tuesday? My goal, my vision here is to actually, normally when I go live, I do it with the, do y'all love Pedro Pascal as much as I do? I feel like he's like the internet boyfriend right now. There's this there's like a TikTok reel short of him where someone's like, "Hey Pedro," and he's like, and they're like, "What's it like being such a hunk?" And he's like, "Thank you for asking." It's a lot. I think the question is like, is it hard being a hunk? And he's like, yeah, it is. I love him. So that's what I was thinking of when I was sipping my straw, which is like, yeah, thank you. Asa is currently working on their first video project. Yes, I love this for you. I love video. I was thinking of experimenting with doing a section of my YouTube where I just go live. Oh, Diop, where I just go live and I go live instead of doing the video, I just go live and I see what happens and I see if that can grow, like if my channel grows that way. But I do really enjoy editing. And I notice that I start to itch if it's been too long. Like if I haven't edited a video, I start to be like, oh, I kind of miss it, Diop is reminding me of a video idea I had, which is about some more things that you realize once you have a YouTube channel. I made a video about this a while ago, and I talked about the way you lose your ability to make a first impression because people can access this version of you, maybe a version of you depending on how long you've been on YouTube, that's like 10 years old, and get like a video record of who you were and what you believed and what your ideas were like all that time ago. I think that was the main reason I even made that video, is I wanted to share that reflection that you are creating this permanent record and you're going to evolve and change over time, and that'll be displayed, but every step of your evolution will be memorialized. I actually had a really interesting moment where I went back and I reread these old text messages from this guy that I talked to years and years and years ago. And I was looking back at the things I was saying and I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. And I was like, oh, you were like, I promise if you had asked me who I was back then, I would not have said who she was in these text messages. But then to be confronted with the truth of the things he was typing out, I was like, these are not doctor text messages. This is really what I was saying. I was like, okay, all right. But I want to make another video where I talk about like another 3 or 4 things. So I have to collect them. And one of them is actually about boundaries, because YouTube will show you YouTube will show you where your boundaries are, and they will invite you to reinforce them or to do the healing work so that your boundaries are actually embodied. Because my understanding is that the thing with boundaries is that you don't have to say and enforce your boundaries when you embody them, because people can just feel it. And they're like, oh, she is not the one to come to with some bullshit. And YouTube will show you the places where it's like, oh, people really think that they can come to me with some BS. Interesting. And then I was just like, what is my role in this? What do I need to do? What do I need to resource myself with in here so that people can just tell like, oh, she's not the one. Because yeah, that really is my preference, is to know that I'm not the one. I think for this, since this is not a normal live where I'm going to do the Patreon after party, I'm just vibing out on this topic. I think I'm going to go for like 5 more minutes or so we can get to that 20-minute mark, and then I'm going to keep it pushing from there. But yeah, I think the main thing I wanted to do with this video was just encourage you to consider the ripple effect of your healing journey. Because to me, I was so focused on my individual healing, and the work I'm doing, it's like individual, ancestral, and collective. And the ancestral and collective stuff, I was like, I'm not trying to do all that. Like, that seems like a lot. I'm just trying to focus on my stuff, heal myself, etc. And then as I've been doing more work in the world, what Thomas suggests is that you will always be called. Like as soon as you're done your stuff, as soon as you've made enough progress, you will always be called to bring your gifts into the world, because that's what it means to have a purpose. Like your purpose doesn't exist by itself, it exists with other people. So eventually you're going to be called to start showing up and being more of a leader in the space. And it was really cool leading up to the workshop, because even as I was making the deck, like I think one of the things we have, if we're someone who's like leading or teaching, or that's one of our roles, is really questioning, like, can I actually help these people? Like, can I really be of service to these people? Is this really something that folks would benefit from? And over the course of just creating the deck for the workshop, I was like, oh, this is not obvious to other people. Like stuff that's just obvious to me that makes perfect sense. So to me, I'm like, why am I spelling this out? For other people, is not obvious. And I was like, oh, like that was really, really humbling. I'm going to check the chat. Yeah, so I was saying that we don't heal in a vacuum. It really is key. All three. Ooh, Sly's ready to post an acting scene. You're posting it on Friday. Should I just post it, show up radically, or commit to posting it Friday? You gotta listen to your spirit. You gotta listen to your intuition. I think the real question is, I remember hearing this like decision-making tactic where if you have two options, you just flip a coin, heads or tails, and then you assign, of course, one choice to heads, the other one to tails. And depending on which one it lands on, what you do is you don't just do the decision it lands on. What you do is you notice how you feel about the decision that's made. So the question would be like, if I was like, just do it on Friday, how would that show up in your body? Or if I was just like, be radical, do it now, like how would that show up in your body? And that's how you know like where your actual alignment is. So Dominique is saying, also hi Dominique, is saying, though I know someone who's spelled that same way, but it's pronounced Dominique. So I wonder which one it is for you. I also find that when you find healing, you want to share it because it puts you in such a different space. Yes, a healthier space, and you don't want to keep that for yourself. I fully agree. I fully agree. And it's interesting because people have tried to help me before I was ready, and it falls on deaf ears. And every time I heal a little bit more, I'm like, why didn't y'all tell me about this? Why was I out here struggling by myself when you could have told me? And it's just like, yeah, no, we tried and you weren't ready. And I was like, right. Right, I forgot. There's actually something going on right now, I'm not going to get into it, where that involves like the next step up in my healing journey. And I'm literally sitting here like, no, thank you. I'm like, I'm not interested. And it's like, I can tell that on the other side would be a very deep, profound healing. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm good, but thanks. Like, if that's my journey, I'll get there. But I'm not interested right now. So thank you. Like, go away. So it's really interesting. Like, we can have so many experiences of healing and so many examples of our own life to choose from that show like, yeah, girl, this is the way. And just you can still just be like, I'm still going to opt out. But thank you. Like, I appreciate you for thinking of me. But in fact, no, thank you. So goodbye. You're welcome, Sly, for that dope advice. Okay. First pronunciation of Dominique was correct. Let me know if y'all would like more workshops. Let me know if y'all would like more lives that aren't just like on a Friday or a Saturday. And if you would prefer, or you would enjoy a live video style. Because, I wanted to give you all a heads up. I'm also going to make a little community post about this. I'm going to go to a silent retreat, my first silent retreat next week. So I'm going to be offline all week. So I actually have a video that I recorded about it being 2 years since quitting my job. So my vision is that I'll have that uploaded for the Tuesday when I'm gone. But I may not. So if not, you're not going to hear from me. But that's what's going on, is I'll be sitting in the silence. And I was just reflecting on how as we heal, we truly become different people. And so the things that we like and want change. Because I promise I would not have voluntarily chosen to do a silent retreat. And arguably, I'm still not voluntarily choosing to do a silent retreat. It's very much a mandatory element of this program I'm in. And they were like, to be clear, it's mandatory. And I'm like, first off, I'm paying you. So to be clear, I can do whatever the fuck I want. But I love that and I'm going, so it's great. But it's interesting how, like, yeah, a year ago, or I guess a year ago I was in the program. So maybe 2 years ago, I would have been like, you want me to sit in silence? But I have so much to say. But I have so much to say. You want to muzzle me? You want to silence a Black woman? Actually, what's wrong with you, maybe? And now here I am, plane ticket bought, and I'm ready to sit in the silence and walk in the woods and presumably weep a whole bunch. And truly, every time I weep, more energy comes back. So I'm really not mad at it. Yes, I hear you about the nervousness of the silent retreat. I spent most of the last month being very nervous. My eye twitch is gone for now, but there's been an eye twitch that's been coming back from just like, ooh, So yeah, I get it. But I think it's going to be beautiful. And I'm so curious to see if y'all will notice a difference in me because you'll be like, oh, wow, I can tell she sat in the silence. I think there'll be more depth. There's always more depth. Every moment I get deeper and deeper. All right, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that because it's been about 20 minutes. Hope you have a beautiful Tuesday. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do this more often, make this like a regular thing. Maybe we'll have a month where like April is all lives or something. If that'd be interested for you. All right, bye.